Now join palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. Keep the palms down. So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Introduction to Buddhism and Meditation, live from the Dharma Bum Temple. We take a few moments, and if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're a regular, welcome back. Let's take a few moments, and just for anyone who's new and wants to share maybe why they're here, or anyone who typically sits with us, whether here or at home, on the right side of your screen, there's a little chat box there. Travis is here, and you can kind of share what you type. So let's take a few minutes just to give people some time to settle in and find us. And if you have any thoughts on why you're here, please let us know. Or more directly, is there anyone here who's joining us for the first time and wants to share why as well?
Carolyn said they're new. They've been watching the last few weeks. It's been such a place of comfort and sanity for them.
Good. Well, welcome, Carolyn. Glad you're here. Yeah, we like to think of this place as we call it a place of refuge. And in Buddhism, we talk about taking refuge in what's called the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. And in this case, it's the Sangha and the community. And often people come here day in and day out and take refuge here in kind of the presence of everybody who's here and other folks struggling. But now we're in this situation where we have to figure out how to find refuge inside the walls that you're in all day long. And the unique thing about that is typically people leave those walls, come here to find refuge, and now you're stuck inside those walls. So I'm glad this is helping. The challenge, as I always talk about, is learning not just to find a sense of peace and calm and sanity here, but to carry that with you everywhere you go. So thanks for being here. Anyone else new or want to share why they're here?
Martina said good morning to everyone and said, here comes peace and sanity.
Yeah, it does. But then the question is, where was it, right? Where does it come from? And then where does it go? And that's always the challenge. I look at one of my favorite expressions in Buddhism is, no birth, no death. And if you look at the essence of the Heart Sutra, which in case any of you have a little spare time on your hands right now, if you're going to Google something, Google Heart Sutra, and you'll find a bunch of different translations. Stick to one on the front page of Google and read that a little bit. And as we all learn through meditation or Buddhist practice, the heart of Buddhist teachings is what's called the Four Noble Truths. And that there is suffering, and that there's a cause, and there's an ending to it, and there's a path. And the Heart Sutra says that there is no suffering, there's no cause of suffering, there's no cessation of suffering, and there is no path whatsoever. So when you read the Heart Sutra, it'll be confusing, especially, whether you're new or not, it'll be confusing. But this idea, and this is for everybody, not just Martina, but the idea is that we think peace comes from somewhere, and then we lose it. Or that sanity comes from somewhere, and then we lose it. Or calmness comes from somewhere, and then we lose it. And the real question is, where does it even exist to begin with? And is it not all a complete illusion in your mind? And it really is, right? 5 minutes ago, we could have been crazy, stressed out, frantic, hectic, angry, and upset. 5 minutes later, all of a sudden, just because we jump in front of a little screen and click on YouTube and go to do some meditation thing, I feel calm and I feel peaceful, right? The real practice is to cut through that illusion that says this versus that. And this is in essence the Heart Sutra, which is an abbreviated version of the Diamond Sutra, which talks about duality. And that we think this is okay and this is not okay. Or this is good and this is bad, or this is right and this is wrong. And ultimately what I've learned from this practice is all of those stories that you're telling yourself about good or bad or right or wrong or calm or not calm or peaceful or crazy, these are all just illusions in your head. There is only one thing, and that is this present moment that we are in right now. So practice abiding in this present moment. Practice not assigning labels to any present moment. And then peace doesn't have to come from anywhere, and it doesn't have to go anywhere. So, good luck with that. Heart Sutra, Diamond Sutra. Anything else before we start with the meditation?
Marisa said she keeps coming back because meditations and Dharma talks with this beautiful Sangha helps her stay in balance.
Yeah, the balance is important. We get out of balance for the reasons I just mentioned. We get out of balance because we read the news article that has a slant one way and it makes us feel terrible. We read a news article that has a slant another way and it makes us feel better. And the reality of the situation is, here we are. So we are constantly pulled out of balance. And yes, the meditation is a tremendous practice to learn to come back to balance, back to being. And for me, what balance means, it's a word to me that really cuts through what I was just talking about, in that we want to stay balanced and not too out of balance. But we're out of balance because of all the stories in our heads. So if we cut through the stories and learn to be present, there is no balance and there's no out of balance. There is just the illusion of yourself being where you are. So, but I'm glad you're here, because no matter what I say, we're all going to fail miserably at what I just said. And so we keep practicing. So don't give up. So with that, we'll start with the meditation practice. I'll give you a few things for those who may be brand new or joining us for the first time, or reminders for everybody else. A couple things to know before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you, right? You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge this practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is it working? Is it not working? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds, right? Especially being at home or wherever you are. Maybe you're in your car. Maybe wherever you are. You're going to hear sounds. So this is life. The practice of meditation is learning to get quiet and still within all of the sounds, not escaping from them. So if you're at home and there's stuff around you during meditation, don't turn and yell at them to be quiet. The meditation is to be with things as they are. So if dogs bark or people move or TV goes on or a kid screams, I mean, if they're in danger, go help them. But, just allow the sounds to happen. All right? Don't expect anything is most important. Posture, you want to be comfortable. If you are in a cushion, often it helps slide into the front third, pushing the stomach forward, allows the back to straighten. Shoulders are relaxed, hands can be on the knees or in the lap. If you're on a chair or couch, however you're seated, also just trying to sit up straight. Please try to stay awake. You have 24 hours a day to go to sleep, so please use this time to try to stay awake. I'll guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. And starting with the eyes closed, if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply going to continue this practice, observing sensation of breath. Expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Where's your mind? Lost in thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Letting go of expectations, letting go of judgment from the practice. Simply sitting, breathing. keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound, each thought, each physical sensation, yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, wanting nothing but to sit and breathe. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go. No one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly begin to move. And most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after, and compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize how you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how we sit and hold our hands or cross our legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It's everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than any one of us who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means, very simply for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in or where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen and you react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's what we get every day. The practice of meditation is learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to everything else that's happening throughout your day. And so all you're working on is closing the gap where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means in your respective lives. but with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. This is not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun, especially if you're brand new. It doesn't always make anything better. It doesn't fix things. Whatever crazy, hectic, stressed out world you're living in right now, that didn't go away. But you allowed your mind, hopefully, to settle for a few minutes. We don't do meditation to be good at it. We do meditation so when the rest of life happens around us, we can be steady and calm within it. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, becoming aware of what you think, what you say, and what you do every moment. And that's why we call it a practice. It's not easy. It's not easy to be nice to yourself or nice to others. It's not easy to forgive yourself or forgive others. It's not easy to embrace present moment as it is when you want to fix and control and change everything. It's not easy to surrender to things that you have no control over. What's easy for most of us is to resist, to fight, to argue, to scream, to kick, to try to change or force change. Those things are easy because that's what most of us have spent our lives doing. And again, it's a practice. The more you learn and the longer you learn, the easier it becomes to be with life as it is. It doesn't mean everything in life is great or good. It doesn't mean the situation we're in right now is good. But your view of the situation doesn't change the situation. Your view of the situation only determines how you feel. So, practice, again, is to embrace life as it is. So I'd rather just stop there, and I prefer always to use the rest of the time just to open up to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice. I'd always rather address what's on your mind and go from there. So again, if you join us a little late, whatever you're on, phone or laptop or wherever you're at, the right side of the screen, I believe, has a little chat box. You can type your question in there, and Travis will read it. I'll probably repeat it, and no, I won't probably repeat it. I will repeat it, and give a response. So we use the rest of the time now for questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with.
Carolyn shared, I find myself in a lot of fear of being laid off, second guessing things I'm doing and saying. Could you speak to that?
I don't know that I can speak to it any more than you just did. You said you find yourself in a lot of fear of being laid off and questioning, second guessing a lot of things. That's correct. And what I've learned from this practice and the Buddhist teachings is that first and most important is to Be very real with what you're sitting with and not try to hide from it or run from it or cover it up or escape from it. And so, the beautiful part is to begin to recognize, yes, I'm in fear. You have a lot of fear right now. Now, I know that doesn't sound wonderful, but what is that actually like? Because you're in fear of things that are not happening in this moment. My guess, without asking you, is that you're afraid of being laid off, meaning you probably have not been laid off yet. So in this moment, correct, you're not laid off. You're just here. Now, the challenge is to learn to be here and know that at some point in time, you either will or will not be laid off. But your fear of that situation usually doesn't change the situation, probably especially in these circumstances. Sometimes in life we have fears about things and we can actually do things to help them. But even now, there might be things you can do to help that a little bit. But for the most part right now, a lot of us, there's so many things that are out of our control. And really, when we look at fear, it has to do with control. So if you can learn, ideally and in time, to recognize that whatever is going to happen is going to happen, there's no need for the fear. Getting rid of fear doesn't mean you won't be laid off. It just means you're not afraid of it anymore. There's a lot of, especially one of my favorite people to learn teachings from is Chogyam Trungpa. And he talks a lot about fearlessness and to embrace life with a sense of fearlessness. So let's just say you are laid off, right? Often I don't even know you, so this isn't about you directly. For those who don't know me, when people ask questions, I almost always respond to them in a general way because it's usually something that other people are sitting with. So this isn't directed at you personally. But the practice is to recognize that you might get laid off. That's a very real possibility. There's a lot of people joining us right now that have been laid off or will be laid off. The fear doesn't change that. Fearlessness means, how are you going to respond if and when you get laid off? That's the practice. Today, I am not. Tomorrow, maybe I will be. But to be afraid between now and tomorrow ruins the next 24 hours of your life because you're living in fear. And there are probably people and places and things in your life right now and around you that will go much smoother if you're not afraid. Don't be afraid of being laid off until you're laid off. And then when you're laid off, you don't have to be afraid of it anymore because you already are. Now you just have to learn to, how do I deal with this? So a lot of this practice for me has always been, how do I deal with this moment? It removes fear. Fear takes up so much time and space in our head. I learned an acronym years ago. I don't know where I got it, but FEAR, F.E.A.R, false evidence appearing real. And when I first heard it, I thought it was kind of strange, but over the years, I've used that and shared it a lot. And the more I integrate Buddhist practice into my life, I recognize that everything in our head is just a story. The excitement of the future and the fear of the future is exactly the same thing. We don't know what 5 minutes from now brings. So for me as a practitioner, and someone mentioned the word balanced, I like to look at it as more of a steady and stable, right? Keeping the emotions balanced. But for me, it's about being steady in that trying not to live your life with this grand, huge excitement about the future. Because if you have these huge, grand ideas and so excited about things, you're easily going to be disappointed. And if your world and in your head is wrapped up in fear, you're going to feel miserable. So work with things as they are, not how you hope they'll be in the future. False evidence appearing real. You're not laid off at this moment. Appreciate this moment. And if you get laid off next week, between now and next Saturday, your question Saturday can be, how do I deal with being laid off? That will be a present thing if that happens. So I hope you don't get laid off, but try to abandon the fear of it. It's debilitating. Thanks for the question.
Martina was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about the Diamond Sutra and what sutra means and what the representation of diamond means.
Sure. So Diamond Sutra, what does sutra mean, and the representation of the diamond? So there's, in Buddhism, in the Mahayana school of Buddhism, there's what's called the Prajnaparamita Sutras. Prajna is wisdom, paramita is perfection, and sutra means thread. Usually Prajnaparamita Sutra is defined as perfection of wisdom sutra. Let me start with the word sutra. Sutra, coming from the word sutra, to thread. And so the Buddhist teachings are considered and called sutras. They're threads. It's an endless continuation, like a thread, of the teachings from 2,500 years ago, 500 years before Christ, when the Buddha taught, to now. And so all the sutras, most of them, when you read them, say, "Thus have I heard at such and such place, at such and such time, the Buddha once said." Because for the first 50, 100 years, however long it was, all the sutras were memorized. And then they eventually realized this is some good stuff, we should write it down. So they wrote them down, and they're called sutras, a thread of the teachings, right? Prajnaparamita Sutras, the Diamond Sutra specifically. So diamond, think of diamond being as it is, the strongest element that cuts through everything. The strongest stone that cuts through everything. The diamond cuts through the ignorance. It's in Tibetan, I believe, they call it the Vajrachetika, but it's anything that cuts through all of the ignorance, or the element, I should say, that cuts through all of the ignorance that's in our head. So, as many of you know, if you're brand new to Buddhism, to sum it up, we struggle, we suffer, the Buddha called it dukkha, discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction, anger, sadness, depression, all these emotions that we feel because of, as I mentioned, the stories in our head. And the diamond is like the strongest element, like the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, that cuts through all that ignorance. The ignorance is all the delusions in our mind. The delusions in our mind that say, I want this and not that. This is duality, which gets into what the Diamond Sutra is all about. The Diamond Sutra is, in essence, the teaching of non-duality. So, I think I am this, and I want to be this. I think I am this person, I want to be that person. I think the world should be like this, but it's like that. I want to eat this, but I'm stuck eating that. I wish I could go here, but I'm stuck. I wish I could go there, but I'm stuck here. I wish I could see this person, but I can't. I wish these people would say this, but they don't. I could sit here for 7 hours straight and give you examples like that. This is all duality. This is our mind telling us that something should be different from how it is. And in the present moment, that's impossible. In the present moment, things are exactly as they are. And so the Diamond Sutra is really helping us realize that all of the ignorance and all of the delusions in our head are an illusion. They're not real, they're stories. So, one of my favorite lines in the Diamond Sutra is, and it's, it's quite long, it's been condensed still, but you can read, it's not that long, but there's a line that says something to the effect of, if you can fully understand, comprehend, and bring just one line in this sutra into your life, then you're golden. It doesn't say you're golden. That's my translation of it, right? But we get wrapped up in this notion of a permanent self and how we want the world to operate. And for me, the first time I came across the Diamond Sutra, it really was just like that diamond, like the sword. Another reference in Buddhism, the wisdom sword of Manjushri. Same idea, that it literally just takes all of the ignorance that's in our head and it just cuts through it like the diamond, cutting through anything. So, Prajnaparamita Hridaya, or the Hridaya is the Heart Sutra, Perfection of Wisdom Heart Sutra. The Heart Sutra is a really condensed version of the Diamond Sutra. So, hope that's helpful. A lot of great translations out there you can find on the Diamond Sutra and the Heart Sutra. There's a Thich Nhat Hanh translation of the Heart Sutra, which I love. I think it's very beneficial. So, yeah. Other questions?
Sabine shared, I feel helpless and without purpose suddenly. I'm untethered and don't know how to get grounded.
Yeah, that's the feeling of a lot of people right now. Feeling helpless and just lost and confused and scared and fearful and all those things. And no matter what your condition is or situation is at this moment, no matter who you are, there's always somebody you can help right now. There's something you can help. There's somewhere you can help. So much, I think, of people's lives is driven around feeling like they have a purpose. And, I've been around Buddhist communities for, I don't know how long, 17 years. And what I find the most consistent amongst people who show up is they're all looking for a purpose in life that they haven't found yet. Which, ironically enough, I think Buddhist practice isn't about finding a grand purpose. I think through time and through practice, you recognize that being present and being kind is enough. That life doesn't have to have some huge meaning to it. But can we be kind? Can we be generous? Can we be forgiving? If you're someone right now who is lost and confused and scared, then use being kind to people as your purpose for living right now. Use to taking care of your house or wherever you are as a purpose for living right now. Clean your refrigerator like you've never cleaned it before. Clean the refrigerator as if your life depends upon it. Clean your floors as if the life depends upon it. Talk to family as if your life depends upon it. Make those things your greatest purpose. Because very often it's those things that we are neglecting in our lives that make us run to meditation or Buddhist practice to try to find purpose. And then what we're actually doing is we're finding purpose away from the things that we should be finding purpose in. And we have tricked ourselves. And meanwhile, everything over here is struggling, but I find purpose and meaning at my Buddhist temple because it makes me feel okay. That's the greatest thing about what we're going through right now, is we have had the rug pulled out from under us. All of the escapes that we all have, for the most part, so many of them are gone. Buddhist practice, meditation, coming to the Dharma Bum temple, wherever you go, these are all escapes. Right? We build one big escape. And now we can't escape to it anymore. Now you are stuck by yourself with your own mind in a place yet you feel like you can't leave. Beautiful. We have been gifted the greatest opportunity for practice. Take care of it. Treat everything you have as if you will never have it again, and you have enough in your immediate life right now, most likely, to last you a couple lifetimes. Is it completely different from how you were living 2 months ago? Absolutely. But everything you encounter, pour your heart into it. Don't waste this time staring at screens all day long and complaining. Don't waste your time staring at news all day long and wondering when everything's going to end, one way or the other, right? Find gratitude and appreciation for everything that is in your immediate space. No more running. No more hiding. No more escaping. This is a very real and raw practice. It's not fake. It's not, and I'm talking to everybody, Sabine, not you anymore. This has always been to everybody. Don't just think that practice is joining the palms and putting on a friendly smile and giving people a hug and, pretending we're okay. You're not okay. But that's okay. Be very authentic and real and genuine with that. Be fearless. No more escapes. This is the greatest opportunity to practice right now. And we can either spend all day long complaining about all the stuff we can't do and all the people we can't see and all the places we can't go. We can look at where we are and use that as your purpose. So hopefully that's helpful, not just to you, but to anybody else.
So Marley's noticed the last few times they've done Saturday morning meditation, it feels like 5 minutes instead of 20. Can you speak to why that might be?
No, I can't. Again, so a couple ways to look at this. One, I never think about, this is for everybody, I never think about meditation as a concept of time. Time is a complete illusion also. One thing, which actually it's funny you brought up time, Marley, because I was almost going to say at the beginning, get in a habit of when you're meditating. So many people, and I see it here also, so many people, as soon as meditation's done, one of the first things they do is they look down at their phone and they want to see how long it's been. Has it been 12 minutes, 17 minutes, 20 minutes, 3 minutes, right? And then they set some marker in their head. They're like, look at me, I did 20 minutes of meditation. And again, you've brought goals, and I don't even think this is the nature of your question, but I'm going to talk about this for a second anyways. Then you've brought goals, you've brought gaining, ideas of gaining, all the things that the Buddha talked about are why we struggle and suffer, into the very fact of just trying to be present. So if you're doing your meditation, however long you sit, just sit. And when you decide to stop, just stop. It's like Forrest Gump. He just kept running. And then one day he stopped. He stopped running. So just sit, do your meditation, and stop. Completely abandon the idea of time. Otherwise, you're setting up, again, duality, coming back to the Diamond Sutra from the Buddhist teachings, you're setting up this construct of time. And then we live our lives built on time. And we build our lives built on, this is my one life and that's it. And then we attach to it, we cling to it. So try to remove this notion of time. It'll also make this moment we're going through right now a lot easier. Wrapped up in, are we going to be able to go outside at the end of the month? Is it going to be 2 more weeks? Is it going to be 2022? Everybody has these ideas of time. And all of those things are why you're suffering. Where are you right now? What are you doing right now? Focus on that. And again, I don't think anything I just talked about had anything to do with Martha's question, but I still think that stuff's important. I don't know why it's necessarily seeming quicker for you. Just pay attention to that, as far as maybe you're not sitting enough, maybe you're sitting too long, maybe you're doing a lot of mindful meditation practices, and then when we sit for a shorter period of time, it seems quick. But I'm not sure why you're feeling that it goes by quick. I don't know. Maybe you enjoy sitting at this time, knowing that it's kind of, part of what is your community, and so it feels good, and maybe it seems to go by faster, as opposed to later in the day where you're like forcing yourself to sit. Maybe it seems more like you're pulling teeth. That could have something to do with it psychologically. You've been sitting Saturday mornings, or this is the Marley. I know you've been sitting Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock for a long, dare I say the word, time. So this is home to you in many ways. And yeah. So I'm going to stop there unless there's any last pressing question. Anything there? Otherwise, I'll stop. All right. So now that it's been 57 minutes, for all of you who want to know how long it's been, we'll go ahead and join palms. We do a transfer of merit. The benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to those who need it most right now. So a few quick announcements before you all head out or head off of the couch or wherever you are. Thanks for joining us. My name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma bum. We opened up this temple 14 years ago to be a bridge to introduce Buddhist practice to local folks. Those of us who lead, we're not monks, we're not nuns, we're not gurus, we're not masters, we're not teachers. We're just practitioners. We do our best to take our understanding of Buddhist teachings and put it into terms that hopefully make sense to those who show up. Our full schedule, I keep saying about 80% of it, but almost everything we do at the Dharma Bum Temple, thanks to the help of a handful of people, actually a lot of people, a few specifically, is up online now. So Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, we have a regular schedule. Tuesday, I do Intro to Buddhism, meditation. Wednesday, Alex does the Metta, loving kindness. Travis does Thursday, Dharma Bum Basics, meditation. That's all on YouTube. All our recovery Sangha, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night for those battling addiction. That's all on Zoom, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. We have our Sunday morning recovery Sangha, our Saturday morning here. We have a 10 a.m. 12 steps in on Saturday as well. Our family Sangha, our kids Sangha, our teen Sangha, our college Sangha, Sangha's community. So all of our groups, for the most part, are meeting now online. Go to the website, thedharmabums.org. You'll see the calendar, the schedule there, and then you click on the date and time, and you open it up. It'll tell you how to connect. Whether it's Zoom or YouTube. Other than that, just be nice to people. The greatest Buddhist teaching I ever got and received was think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. So work on that today. Work on that now. And that's the practice. So thanks for being here. Please be safe, be healthy, wash your hands, don't go anywhere, and wear a mask if you do. Appreciate it.